They say the Grey Knights are the purest warriors in the galaxy, men forged from faith, fire, and a destiny soaked in silver. But purity has a price. I learned that the moment I first stepped into the chapter's Hall of Echoes, when the Inquisitor whispered, "From this moment on, you are no longer human." Maybe that's why I am telling this story now, because people think being a Grey Knight means being blessed, chosen, protected by the Emperor himself. But if you knew the truth, if you saw what we see, if you felt what we feel, you wouldn't envy us, you would pity us, because behind the shining armor, behind the legends, behind the victories carved into worlds that no longer exist, there is suffering. Quiet. Constant. Unseen, and sometimes I wonder, are we protectors of humanity, or are we its forgotten sacrifices? This is why it truly sucks to be a Grey Knight that I was 16 when the black ships took me. I remember the cold metal floor under my knees and the way the air seemed too silent, too heavy, as if every sound feared waking something ancient. They told us our minds were dangerous, our souls unstable, our potential a threat. Not all of us would survive the journey. Only the worthy will endure, the handlers repeated like a prayer twisted into a warning. When we arrived on Titan, the air tasted of ozone and old memories, as if the world itself carried the scars of 1,000 psychic screams. They tested us, not our strength, not our courage, but our very essence. They tore open our minds, searching for corruption, weakness, fear. Most of us broke. Some died. A few simply vanished, their bodies intact but their souls ripped apart. Each night, I heard whispers of those who failed lingering in the dormitory walls. And each morning, fewer faces remained at roll call, then came the rituals. Runes burned into our skin, faith carved into our bones, purity hammered into our souls like molten chains. We were told this pain was necessary, that to stand before demons, we must first become indestructible. But becoming indestructible meant becoming something less than human. I could no longer remember my family's faces. I couldn't recall the sound of my own laughter. The past was cut away piece by piece until only duty remained. My first battle was on a nameless moon orbiting a dying star. Demonic corruption had spilled across its surface like rot spreading through wounded flesh. The sky throbbed with unnatural colors, the ground screamed under our boots, and the air tasted like terror. I should have been afraid. But they had burned the fear out of us long ago. We fought creatures that defied description, forms twisting between nightmare and shadow. Every strike was a battle not just against the enemy, but against the temptation of corruption, the whispers clawing at the edges of our minds. When the battle ended, the ground was littered with horrors, and the air was still. But inside, I felt nothing. No triumph. No pride. Only a hollow exhaustion deeper than any wound. Even then, I began to understand the truth. Being a Grey Knight means fighting battles you can never celebrate, enduring wounds you can never show, and protecting a galaxy that will never know your name. But the worst was yet to come. Years passed. Campaigns blurred together into a cycle of blood, fire, and silence. One day we were cleansing a hive city twisted by cultists, the next we were banishing demons from the ruins of a forgotten tomb world. Every victory cost us pieces of ourselves, not limbs or lives, but memories, emotions, fragments of our souls shaved away by every psychic duel. My squad, Brotherhood Castus, became my only family. Brother Kale, who never spoke unless spoken to but always stood between us and danger. Brother Utraz, whose laugh had survived the purging of his mind, soft, brief, almost human. And our Justicar, Vardas, who carried the weight of 1,000 worlds behind his calm, unwavering eyes. Together, we fought through hells the Imperium refused to acknowledge. Together, We endured until the siege of Datheron. The planet had been lost long before we arrived. A rift tore across the sky, bleeding warp energy like a festering wound. Demons flooded the streets, reality twisted into a nightmare mosaic. We descended into that chaos knowing full well we might not return. And truthfully, none of us expected to. The battle raged for hours, or maybe days. Time bent around us in ways I still cannot explain. At the heart of the city, we found the source, a demon prince towering over the ruins, its voice a storm of promises and lies. It knew our names. It knew our thoughts. It whispered things we had tried to forget, the families we no longer remembered, the lives we never lived, the peace we would never know. When it struck, the world shattered. Kale fell first, torn apart by claws wreathed in warp flame. Utraz threw himself into the beast's jaws just long enough for Vardas to land a killing blow. And Vardas burned, his armor ignited from within by psychic backlash. As he fell, he pressed his gauntlet to my shoulder and whispered, "Live. So someone remembers us." When the demon prince dissolved into nothingness, the rift sealed, the world fell silent again. The Imperium declared Datheron stabilized, and the victory was credited to a regiment that never even reached the battlefield. Our names were erased. Our sacrifices buried. Our brothers forgotten, and that was the moment I understood something I wish I never learned. Being a Grey Knight doesn't suck because of the pain, the fear, or the endless war. It sucks because, in the end, no one will ever know what you gave up to save them. We are shadows forged from light. Warriors of purity cursed to live and die unseen, but maybe, just maybe, that is why the Emperor chose us, because true heroes are the ones who fight for a galaxy that will never thank them, and protect people who will never know they needed protection.